Hello, welcome to Drop Dice Gaming. In this video I shall be going through my Thousand Sons army. It's about 3,500 points, maybe a bit more, and it's pretty much done. I possibly will add a bit more to it. I was thinking maybe a Contemptor Dreadnought, maybe a Trilas Predator. And probably I should get some more Scarab Occult Terminators as well, because they're so good. But this is close to being done, and right now I'm in the middle of getting my Orc army together, so I suspect this is how it will be for the time being. I got back into 40k halfway through 8th, and I knew nothing about the game mechanics. I knew nothing about what armies were good or not so good. I just love the look of the Thousand Sons. And when I was a much smaller lad, when I was a teenager, I used to play the game Epic, and I had a Chaos Epic army. And in that army you could draw from the major Chaos Legions, Thousand Sons being one of them, and the others of course being Death Guard, Emperor's Children, and World Eaters. So I sort of knew a little bit about Thousand Sons. Magnus the Red was in the game. He was a sort of strange bearded gnome-like character then, but he had a very powerful sort of magic attack that pretty much deleted a unit on 2+ in Epic, which was very useful. So I was sort of familiar with them. So when I got back into the hobby, I was very much gravitated towards them and purchased my first squad of rubrics. Oh, focus, there we go. And yeah, it sort of went from there really. Of course, if I field him, Magnus is the leader. He may not always be the warlord, but he's of course the leader of the army. And I tend to take him when I know I'm up against a quite powerful army, maybe like knights or something like that. Is quite useful. In 8th edition he did suffer from being a bit of a gun target, especially if you didn't get first turn and were able to increase his invulnerable, or make him harder to hit, or just warp time him up the table so he started hitting in the first turn. So in 9th edition I've not used him yet, so sort of remain to see how effective he will be. But I think he with the new reinforcement rules, I think he would be quite good, if not bringing on straight away, but maybe in later turns, and really turning the tide where he needs to be. Other named character, of course, if I can get this to focus, is Ahriman. He's so good, and I think I pretty much bought him in every single game I played in 8th. I'm going to try and not bring him quite as much, because it sort of doesn't make sense that he's in every single fight that the Thousand Sons are involved in all over the galaxy. But yeah, he's still such a good unit, and he's one of my favourite characters as well in the lore. So yeah, they're the named characters. The actual army name itself is the Court of the Crimson King. Oh. Yeah, Magnus the Red, of course, being known as the Crimson King in the lore, and the Court of the Crimson King, the name inspired by that fact, but also there's another Thousand Sons player online that I'm aware of. I've seen a few of his battle reports, called Stylus, and he has an army called the Court of Miracles. So this is pretty much a homage to that. Yeah, but they're mostly, the army is mostly drawn from the Cult of Knowledge. Of course, the Thousand Sons are divided into 9 cults, all with their own nefarious, deviant ways in carrying out the will of Tzeentch. So these are drawn from the Cult of Knowledge. It tends to be the cult I use. I quite like it, but depending on the enumerations drawn from the battlefield. They use that knowledge to sometimes utilize powers from other cults, cult of time, cult of prophecy, and cult of magic being the principal ones. So that's to reflect the fact that I sometimes use those cults when I'm playing my games instead of the cult of knowledge. But yes, this is the 5th full band of the 9th sect of the cult of knowledge, or certainly part of it. So yeah, I shall now look at the war band or war leader, which is this chap here, if I can get him to focus. So this is Exalted Sorcerer Imhoden Manutek, and he is a survivor from the destruction and sacking of Prospero by the Space Wolves at the beginning of the Horus Heresy. And ever since that disaster, he's been seeking knowledge. He's very much a fully paid up member of the Cult of Knowledge. Not necessarily favour amongst others in the Legion, or indeed Tzeentch himself. He's been very much in the shadow of Ahriman, a disciple of him and a follower of him. And like Ahriman, he seeks to reverse the rubric and return his brothers to their former selves. Ever since the Cicatrix Maledictum has erupted and divided the galaxy in two, he now believes that this is his chance to make his own impact on the wider galaxy. So it will be the Warlord, unless I'm taking Ahriman, then he will effectively take over the army, or sometimes Magnus. So to his left, or right, is this sorcerer here, Hedrada Ran. Now he is barely keeping control of his body, and the flesh change is beginning to impact upon him. You can see, if I can get it to focus. Yeah, you can see that his flesh is beginning to change, and he's well aware of the fate that awaits him if he loses complete control of that process. He's very belligerent and uses warfare to siphon off that excess power flowing through him, and uses it to batter his enemies. So he tends to surge forward, and is very an aggressively minded sorcerer. Moving on to another HQ choice is another sorcerer, and this is Thotek Amonkhet. Now Thotek seeks to overthrow Imhoden and take control of the Thrall Band, and very much wants to be elevated to Exalted Sorcerer. Whether Imhoden knows that or not remains to be seen, but he tends to hold back during engagements. He doesn't like to get stuck in like Hedrada, and he's often the first to retreat and decide that if things aren't going very well, he needs to get out of there and save his own skin. But yeah, so he is another HQ choice, and the final HQ choice, if I can get him to focus, is this Demon Prince, Amun-Hep Azrak. Now, like Imhoden Manutek, he was a legionary during the fall of Prospero, and as a result of that, he's developed a pathological deep hatred of the Space Wolves, even more so than is generally felt throughout the Legion. However, unlike Imhoden, he has been very active in the galaxy since that incident, and has earned the favour of Tzeentch, who elevated him quite recently into a Demon Prince. So yeah, they are the HQs in the Thousand Suns army. Let's have a look at the elites. Okay, so here are my Scarab Occult Terminators. I'm rather foolhardily stuck on a heavy warp flamer instead of the probably much more effective Hellfire cannon. That's not the right word. The multi-barreled weapon. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, there we go. This squad is Squad T'Kor, named after the aspiring sorcerer T'Kor. And yeah, they tend to drop in, dish out a lot of firepower, and generally are quite hard to shift with all as dust. A very effective unit, I think, and I should really get more of them. Next elite choice is this person here. This is Angor Shaman, who is called Mithrakan, yeah, he has entered into fell pacts with Imholden in order to Imholden to gain advantage of Mithrakan, Zangor legions. Got some Zangor Enlightened. In the game they're really good. They're a bit squishy, but with Prescience and the Zangor Shaman next to them, they auto wound on 4s. So they're pretty good. And then we've got a big squad of 20 Zangors behind them, of course, a troop choice in the army. Mixed results of the Zangors. Sometimes I bung them in or take them out of the webway, and sometimes I do quite well. Other times they sort of charge around just getting shot up and not being all that effective. But it's probably the way I play them. Over here is a Hellbrute, another elite choice. Don't use him that often, but in 9th, because he can then move and fire without penalty, so his multi-mouse will be hitting on 3s still. I might see how well he does. He probably doesn't do very well because I don't use him correctly, but I suspect it's something to do with the fact that he was once painted in Death Guard colours, and I repainted him in the complete opposite Chaos God Tzeentch, and I think he's probably still a bit salty about that. Okay, any more elites? I think that's it. So I'll go to troop choices. I've got 2 squads of rubrics here, Squad Petra and Squad Heket. Didn't know what I was doing when I stuck them together. I stuck far too many warp flamers on the squads, thinking that they just were different looking warp bolters as opposed to different weapons. So I'd sometimes say to my opponent they are all warp bolters rather than warp flamers. I haven't mastered the ability to magnetize anything yet. I've already shown you the other troop choice of Zangors, and then we've got some cultists here, come up from the underbellies of Imperial worlds, looking for change, looking for something better in their lives, and deciding to throw in their lot with 1,000 Suns. Whether that proves to be foolish or not remains to be seen. Okay, in terms of fast attack, I've got Zangor Enlightened already mentioned, and a little salutary reminder what may happen to Hedrada Ran should he completely lose control of his body. A couple of Chaos Spawn. Pretty much purchased these just because Magnus has the ability to turn enemy characters into spawn if he slays them. Also got a Helldrake. It just looks so Tzeentchy. This is always going to be a model that's going to appear in my army. I think it's one of the best Citadel miniatures. I just absolutely love it. It's okay. It's fast. You can get into your enemy's grill quite well and give them something to think about. In terms of heavy support, I've got Defiler here. Now in 8th, this tended to sit in my back line and be a bit of a sort of artillery piece and potential counter punch should enemy get too close. But in 9th, now that again vehicles can move and fire without penalty, this may be scuttling forward a bit more in future. I've got a Land Raider, kindly donated to me. I think it was a Dark Angels Land Raider, and I've painted it up into Thousand Sons colours. I don't field it that often. It's named the Warning of Magnus. The reason why I haven't got a Chaos Land Raider is I always think the aesthetic of the Thousand Sons is more cleaner than the sort of spiky skulls and that kind of thing you get in some of the more classic Chaos Space Marine look and armies. So that's how I sort of say to myself, that's why it is as it is. So yeah, I've got a Rhino with the bits from Forge World or the 15th Legion, just to make it more in keeping with the army. And I've got a Noctilith Crown, which to be fair, I don't really use very often. Sometimes just use it as a piece of scenery, an inert piece of scenery. The reason I have this is that in Thousand Sons, of course, your main advantage over the enemy is your psychic might, and the Noctilith Crown increases that even further and also nerfs your opposing enemy's psychic power. So if I know I'm up against a psychic heavy army, perhaps Tyranids or Eldar or something like that, then you really want to dominate the psychic phase, because that's how you pretty much win games as Thousand Sons, more or less. And that really can help that process. Okay, let's have a look at the demon allies. So this is Lahulcha, Herald of Tzeentch, on a Fate Skimmer of the Crystalline Blaze. He's partially bound to Amenhotep Azrak, and will sometimes assist the Thrall Band should Tzeentch will it. Got a unit of 10 horrors. I like to spend the reinforcement points so I get the blue and the brimstones popping out of them when they're slain, because you know that's how it works in the lore. It does mean they can be quite an expensive unit, but they also have quite a lot of staying power actually with a 4-up invulnerable. Yeah, so score 3 screamers, quite useful, very fast, and pretty good in combat actually. Yeah, I quite like them. Flamers and Exalted Flamer in the back. So I think that's it. Have I covered everyone? I think I have. Yeah, so I hope you like it. I like the Thousand Sons. I like the fact that they were pretty loyal to begin with. You know, in many respects, the Imperium turned its back on them as opposed to they turned their back on the Imperium. But of course, that is a big old debate which I won't invite comment on here. I like the fact that they very much are seeking knowledge. They don't view magic and science as any particular difference between the two. Just ways that you can manipulate the world around you. Cult of Knowledge would very much view the Imperium as the the backwards dark ages sort of people that they are. They would very much view how the Mechanicum deals with technology as idiotic, and these are very much people looking to further knowledge and technology and not be frightened of it. Of course, in the Dark Millennium, some knowledge can be dangerous. But yeah, I like playing with them. They're quite tough in terms of they got good invulnerable saves. Virtually everything in the army has an invulnerable save, apart from the cultists and the vehicles. So yeah, if you're lucky with your dice, you can sometimes take quite a lot of punishment. Not very good in close assault, really. Only the Zangors and the Spawn. Well, the Defiler could also do quite well. But generally speaking, in the 8th, I would hold back, protect my characters with units, because it's a lot easier to do that in 8th, and just psychic my way out and defeat my opponents through psychic attacks, and possibly obviously relying on the fusillades of the rubrics of the -2 warp bolters as well. But yeah, it's not complete. So I wouldn't take this list to any tournament. I'll get completely blown off the table. But it's just sort of rule of what I like. Got it all together, and yeah, it seems to do quite well. Not all the time, of course. I've had some pretty bad losses, but that is the will of Tzeentch sometimes. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed that video. I've got another army that I'm building at the moment, which is my Orc War. It's considerably less in size at the moment, so it may take a little while before I'm at a point where I can at least start showing off some of those units. But yeah, okay, well I shall hopefully upload this soon, and then put on a battle report between 1,000 Suns and what orcs I do have. Okay, cheers, thank you, bye.